Okay,
Okay.
it says we're live.
Yeah, let me make sure it's on in the Facebook group.
All
There
right,
it
sounds
is.
good. We wanna be live, not here talking to ourselves, right?
Right. Okay, we're live over there. Let me turn this off because I don't need no interruptions. Okay. All right. Welcome to the Discovery Within podcast, where we explore the depths of self discovery and personal growth. I'm your host, Coach T.
And I am your co-host, LJ the Peacemaker. And today we are diving into commitment and consistency on the hero's journey to self-discovery. Now, these are huge, and we can't wait to talk about it. Right, Coach T?
That's right. So let us know where you're tuning in from, whether you're on the Facebook group or you're from YouTube. Come in, feel free to, ask questions and just join the conversation, interact with us. Let us know you're here. So like
Absolutely.
she said, y'all can see the title. We're gonna be talking about, staying true to yourself and commitment and consistency on your self-discovery journey. Now, when we see commitment and consistency, most people think about, their job and their career and stuff like that. But we're talking about that commitment and that consistency within yourself, to your purpose and everything that has to do with you. Because we know that everything starts with you. So to commit to yourself and be consistent with your own self-discovery journey and your own personal growth, then everything else that'll automatically, you'll have consistency in the outside stuff. But oftentimes we see that, we place a lot of focus on the external because, societal expectations of, being on top of your career or being a parent or whatever it is. We always talk about, committing to that and being consistent with that. But what about that inner work, that inner world? Like, why isn't that, why aren't we consistent with that, going within ourselves to, explore those deeper truths about ourselves, those vulnerabilities and stuff like that, versus just focusing solely on the outside world?
Right.
What do you think
I mean, ultimately, it's like, our life is full of responsibilities and things that we feel like we have to do. And oftentimes, like being a parent or going to work or, tending to your home, those things are right in front of our face. And so we often feel pulled to tend to them and not leave any space for ourselves. And so, in order for us to make progress within ourselves and begin like this journey, within to self discovery and to personal growth and really pursuing our goals, we have to commit to carving out that time to making ourselves a priority because life's chores are going to be there. You know what I mean? They're not going to say, oh, hey, we'll be put on hold for a little while so you could go relax or so you could go meditate. So it becomes of the utmost importance that we commit to ourselves to begin making that time, or else we're never going to have it. So I really believe that this commitment piece is one of the initial steps that we have to take on this journey of self discovery, and this journey within. We have to commit to making ourselves a priority on the priority list. And I know for myself, for many years, I did not appear on my priority list. I had a list of priorities, I was nowhere on there. And it took me many years to realize, oh, wait, I need to be on the list. And not only on the list, I need to be the top priority. So I really had to revamp my thinking and commit to making myself a priority, because if we don't feel well and we're not, feeling enthusiastic or like ready to take on the world, then what value or what exactly is it that we're going to be given to everything else? We can't give our best if we don't feel our best. So that's very, very important.
Yes, exactly. Facebook user says, "Hey, ladies, Facebook user, let us know who you are." I think it's Leslie, but that's my guess. Let me know if that's you. But yeah, just like you were saying, we prioritize all this other stuff outside of ourselves, and then we neglect ourselves because with all these expectations to just show up and stuff, like whether it be Yes, it's me.
She-
Hey, thank you for tuning in and joining
well,
the
hi,
session.
Leslie. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. So it's like we, you know, have those expectations of always showing up for everyone else, but ourselves. It's like we go lacking in the midst. We can give ourselves the accolades, the pat on the back or whatever, and say, oh yeah, we accomplished this, we stayed committed to this job. But what about that job of within, like yourself, that inner work? Because that's the most important work that you'll ever have to commit to in this lifetime. Because one thing about it, you here with you for a lifetime. Everything else outside you that can be here and gone tomorrow, but you remain.
Right.
So while you're being consistent with, everything outside of yourself, what about that inner work? Because like you said, you can do all these things, but if you're not committed to your mental health, your emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, all those things, then how do you expect to be of any value to anybody else?
Absolutely.
And you're not, solely committed on that, because like I said, you have to deal with you. Everything is all said and done. When you don't accomplish and stay committed to all the outside stuff, and then you're by yourself, and then you're running away from, those inner workings or those inner problems within yourself, and now you're neglecting that. But sometimes we can commit so much to things outside of ourselves as an excuse, or really just something that keeps us from having to go within and doing that work. Because
Right.
that work, while the outside stuff there, that inner work, your mind, your thoughts, your attitudes, your emotions and stuff, that's every day. That's a daily practice.
Absolutely. 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 And I mean, it's like we are the ones who set the standard for how everything outside of us is going to treat us. You know what I mean? So if we treat ourselves like we don't matter, or not giving proper time for rest and proper time for self care, then the expectations of everybody else around us or outside of us is going to have that same expectation of us. They will take until you don't have nothing left to give. You know what I mean? And then you find yourself not well or just completely drained and wondering, why are people treating you like this? When it's you're allowing it. You're allowing everything else to be of higher priority. And additionally, I mean, if you have children or just younger people around you that you are a role model to, you're modeling this behavior, that self-care or really just pursuing your dreams or finding true fulfillment is not important in life. That's not something that needs to be pursued. And ultimately, that's the only way that we really feel fulfilled, by going after what it is that we desire, by taking that time to make sure we feel balanced, and that, we're not overburdening ourselves with these external factors. Because there's this quote that says that overworking yourself, I'm paraphrasing, but it basically says that overworking yourself, and burning the candle at both ends will make you the most successful person in the graveyard. And it's like, ultimately, that's really what it comes down to, acknowledging that you deserve to be happy, you deserve to feel fulfilled, and you deserve to have the accomplishments that you want out of life. But that only comes from you fueling yourself properly and efficiently. You have to make sure that you're strong to complete the mission, which means taking care of yourself mentally
Mhm.
and physically. It means feeding yourself good foods and doing things that actually are of benefit to you, maintaining your health. And it's like all about this balance, but it
Mhm.
doesn't happen by magic. Again, life is busy, life is hectic, things are constantly coming up. And so unless we commit to ourselves and really develop these simple practices in our day-to-day life to keep us consistent with managing ourselves, it's not going to happen. So it all has to be done on purpose, and it has to be very intentional.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that, because it's like, if for me, if my heart isn't in it, then it's gonna be hard for me to even stay committed or even have the consistency with it. Because a lot of us are, we're committing to things that we just really don't want to do. Like there's a saying that I had from a mentor. They said, your mission should go from your head to your heart. And sometimes it doesn't go to our hearts. And we're just committing and we're exerting all this energy all this time and energy on something that our heart isn't in. But when you do something from your heart, from something that's your soul's alignment, that makes it more smoother for you to stay committed and have that consistency, because you're not doing it just because, okay, well, this is something that I'm supposed to do. This is one of my roles in the world. So I'm just going to show up because this is what I'm supposed to do. No, show up and want to show up. Because when you want to show up, you're excited about the thing, whatever it is that you're doing, you'll be more willing to show up and commit, even on the days where you're just not feeling up to it.
Right.
Because you're gonna have those days where you just feel like, I don't want to do nothing. I'm not feeling too good. I just need me a break. But when your heart is committed to it, and like you know that this is your purpose, and like this comes easy for you, this is what excites you, it'll make it so easier for you to just, still muster up that courage to go out there and do it. Because I know sometimes, like, we get on here, may not be feeling the best or in the best of moods, but when your heart is in something, you will do any and everything to make sure that you're aligned, and then that you're up for the task and you're inspired to take that inspired action. So like for me, whenever I'm approaching something that I know I have to do and I'm not in the best mood, I'm in the funk, I know that I'm going to preserve me some time before that task for me to, get myself together, just get my energy right. Because it's like, you can't deliver if your energy is just low and you like your thinking is thinking.
Right.
Like, you're not going to be able to just flow how you want to. But like I was saying, just giving yourself like time to just, whether it's meditation or to just listen to music or something, have those type of practices to help you to stay the course when you run into those bumps where you just feel like, I don't want to do it, not today. Give yourself grace for those moments, because you're gonna have them. You're not gonna be just constantly, I'm ready, I'm committed. It's not gonna be like that every day.
Right.
So,
Right.
be realistic.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And I mean, it's like it's simple logic. What can you give if you're running on empty? Nothing. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like really us understanding that, because we think we're like the Energizer Bunny. You could just keep going, going, going. And even when we feel ourselves depleted, we still try to keep going. And it's like, where do you think that's going to end up? And it is nowhere good, And oftentimes we overcommit to other people, other things that we really don't want to do. Like you were saying, our heart's not in it. And a lot of time it's because we don't want to let other people down. But yet in the process, we're harming ourselves or letting ourselves down, because oftentimes we know damn well we just want to say no, but
Hmm.
sometimes that's hard. Sometimes that's real, real hard. Somebody's like, oh, hey, can you volunteer for this? Can you do this? And you're like, oh, all right, when is it? I'll try. And it's like, just say no, it's all right.
Yeah.
Just say no. But I mean, I know for myself that was definitely something that I had to practice. I had to practice saying no, because I
Hmm.
I had taught myself to believe that if I'm able, then I should. And now I realize, no, that ain't it. Is if I want to, if I feel like it, if it doesn't interfere with other things I already have going on. And also recognizing too that when we commit to things, especially if they're in the future, we have to keep in mind that when that day rolls around, you may not feel like it. So, is
Hmm.
this something that you're going to be willing to push through? You know what I mean? To make sure you show up anyway. And if you're not jumping and skipping for that opportunity to complete that thing, then just say no. Just say no. You will do yourself and the other person a favor, But these are things that we have to practice. I feel like even with the consistency piece, it's all muscles. You got to practice it. As you practice saying no, as you practice your commitments to yourself, as you practice each day doing your best to show up, you get better at it, you get stronger, and you get more confident in your own ability to do so. But it's like we got to get started. We got to get started. And when we start on this journey of self discovery, we have to commit to seeing it through. And
Mhm.
that is extremely scary because we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't even know what it's going to entail. But it's really about just committing to the daily practice, the simple incremental steps, whatever it is that you plan out for yourself to do each day. Commit
Yeah.
to seeing it through. And that don't mean you're going to always get all your to-do list done or your whole agenda, because most of the time you probably not.
Mhm.
I mean, some days are great, you get so much done and that's wonderful, but really acknowledging that this is about just every day getting up and just trying again, and it's like the little engine that could. I think I can, I
Yeah.
think I can, and you just keep going. Don't let anything diminish that ability to get up and just try again.
Yes. And it's just basically staying true to yourself. Cause like I say, when you go deeper within yourself on your journey and you discover who you are, you figure out what your core values are for yourself. And then you just create a plan of action that aligns with your core values. Now, with creating a plan of action for you to, be consistent, like you said, it's not gonna always be where you're just tackling everything on your to-do list, because we know from experience, you can plan something out and then your plans get interrupted by some unexpected event, and now you got to pivot and now you got to adjust. So with the commitment and consistency, you got to allow yourself that space to adjust. Like I have like a schedule for the things that I'm going to do for the week, but I still allow myself to have that flexibility for things to change, but I still have the things that are set in stone. But whatever gets thrown at me that week and I may have to pivot, then I just have to flow with that. So if some things don't get done, I'm not gonna beat myself up about it, because most of us, we beat ourselves up if we was doing good for these 3 days, and then that fourth day, yeah, we wasn't consistent, we didn't do what we said we was gonna do, and now we beat ourselves up. And when you beat yourself up, now you don't put yourself in this whole different energy where you're unhappy, and that stagnates you.
Right.
So knowing what your core values are, it can help you to develop a strategy that'll help you to be consistent. You can create that consistency based off who you are and your inner truth and what aligns with you. And for me, I have to create a schedule that allows me to be flexible. So I do have some structure in there essentially, but I leave room for me to be able to pick, because unexpected things come up, and like for me, I got things going on with my dad and stuff now. So with the commitment and consistency, that's when you have to learn how to navigate your challenges. Because for me, I have a business, putting up my content and stuff, shooting a podcast. Now my dad just had surgery and stuff. So I didn't let it overwhelm me like I normally would have, because I know that every challenge is basically an opportunity for you, it's an opportunity for your growth. So this like time, while I say it was very busy for me, it really helped me to be consistent and with my time. Because
Right.
now my time is limited. I can't be doing too much because I'm committed to myself first and foremost. So I'm not gonna burn myself out. I'm not about to do anything I'm not about to keep overextending myself. That's why you gotta be clear, like let your no's mean no, and
Right.
stick with it. So I'll make room to, I help my dad or whatever he needs to take care of. And then the rest of that time is mainly for me. Anything extra that gets thrown at me, you're gonna have to get somebody else to do that. And you have to be okay with that, because on this journey, you're here for you. And that's what you
Absolutely.
always have to remember. And that's why we say stay true to yourself. Because if you don't stay true to yourself, then nobody else will.
Right.
You
Absolutely. And I
are
mean, a major part too of that staying true to yourself is this honesty piece. Like, how do you really feel? You know what I mean? Like, okay, I have all this on my to do list and I don't feel up to it. So then that means something needs to be reconfigured. You know what I mean? Like, really admitting that to ourselves. Because a lot of times people say, "Oh, how you doing?" "Oh, fine," and you feel horrible. You know what I mean? That it's like that's part of that staying true to yourself. Say it. I mean, not that you have to tell everybody I don't feel well, but at least to
Mm-hmm.
yourself, I don't feel well. Something going on in my schedule. I don't like it. Something that happened today made me feel really tired. Maybe I need
Mm-hmm.
to take a nap. Maybe when I get home, I shouldn't try to stay up late and finish all this work because it's not healthy for me, you know? And it's like, we have to first and foremost be true to our core values, like you were saying. And one of the crucial ones is that honesty piece, really being honest with ourselves about how we feel, what we want, and where we're headed. You know, can you continue in this manner? How much longer you think you could just keep burning yourself out like that? It's not going to get you to your destination. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, when we are committed to ourselves and really committed to being honest like that, it allows us to pivot through life situations. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Some unforeseen thing arises, like you were mentioning about your dad. You didn't plan all of that, but now you had to adjust. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like the more scheduled we are and structured, the easier it becomes to pivot, because now you know, oh, I had these three things to do. Now I can move those three things, it's very clear, and do them next week or do them at this time or that time. But when we don't have this structure, we're not making a schedule, we're not prioritizing, we don't know what we got to do. So to
Mm-hmm.
rearrange it, reorganize it becomes extremely stressful, because it's almost like you trying to reconfigure pieces that are just floating in the air somewhere, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important for us to know, like, we have ownership of our time, and time is one of our most valuable assets. So
Yeah.
we have to utilize it like it's valuable and use it efficiently so that we can accomplish the things that we desire. And one of the crucial pieces is that time for ourselves, the times to plan, to think, to relax, to rest, because that's what helps us to rejuvenate, which is what ultimately will help us to be energized to get things done that we really want to do. So, you know, it's like, sometimes I know for myself, at one point it didn't make sense. It's like, okay, if I'm making this schedule and I got all this structure, when everything doesn't go according to plan, I should be mad, right? I should get stressed out, right? And through the practice of it, I realized no, it just allows me to feel more in control. If I'm making my schedule every day, then ultimately, after consistently doing that, I feel in control of my life. I feel in control of my time. So when an unexpected thing happens, I don't need to worry or stress because I'm the boss over here. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And it's like, we're not told that piece. We think, oh, you just got to make the schedule, stick to the schedule, manage your time. But it's like, no, what you're doing is really developing this consistency of being in control of your life. And
Mm-hmm.
so when any external factor shows up, it doesn't diminish that because you've been consistent in the practice of being in charge of your time and your schedule. So it's like, that is definitely a critical piece and something that has been very, very empowering to me.
Yes, and that's why we say like you got to be your own hero because this is
Yes.
your journey. You the captain of the ship. So what you gonna create for yourself? How are things gonna flow for you? And so, like you was talking about the confidence, to just keep going and stay consistent. That comes with that self trust. You gotta trust in yourself more than anybody because sometimes when we get in those binds, when those challenges come up, and we get so in our head and we try to figure out, okay, what should I be doing? And we try to look for the answers outside of ourselves instead of remaining calm and going within and seeking the answers from ourselves. Like self trust is a key component of being committed because you can't always rely on someone else to make the decisions for you. You have to know who you are. So, like for me, when I was saying with my dad, with the unexpected thing happening with him and his health, I knew that I'm a person that I get very frustrated when I have too much on my plate and it's like I don't have no time for me, like no time to eat, just sit, rest, think, breathe, eat, anything. So with knowing myself and going within and understanding where my triggers or where my frustrations come from, I know that okay, look, I'm gonna have to sit here and figure this thing out because I know me, I don't do well when I feel burned out or I'm overwhelmed. So I'm gonna have to create this schedule and how things gonna flow for me. Now, if it inconvenience someone else, that's the them problem because I'm not gonna inconvenience myself at your expense just to make others happy. And so that's why you have to trust yourself in the decisions that you make when it comes to it, because don't nobody know you better than you. And like your journey is unique to yourself. So how you
Right.
go about it is essentially up to you. And that's why we say you got to be your own hero. And that starts, and once
Absolutely.
you begin to, practice with trusting yourself more when those different challenges come up, and then you don't really care about what the outside world is telling you, or somebody say, oh, you should do this, you should still, no, don't tell me what I should be doing. Because no, number one, nobody should be telling you what you should do with your life. You should know that for yourself. And then you set the tone. Now, if you need help, you need guidance in an area, okay, that's when you go to someone else with that area of expertise. But essentially, it's up to you, because you have to be confident and walking this self-discovery path. Because it's self-discovery for a reason. And so commitment, you got to be committed to yourself. You here with yourself forever. So
Right.
that trust, that confidence is going to have to come in.
Absolutely. That is very, very true. And I mean, also, like, this is a journey of self discovery, it's the journey within. So, therefore, you're discovering yourself, and that's part of what we all have to accept. We don't really know ourselves. We don't. We think we know ourselves, but so much of it is stuff that we
Mm-hmm.
just picked up along the way that maybe our parents taught us, life taught us, and it's not necessarily who we are, it's just beliefs that we've held on to. So
Mm-hmm.
as we're learning ourselves, you have to stay true to what you're feeling, what you're learning. You know what I mean? There could be something that you've done every day for the last 20 years, and today you get a feeling and you're like, wait a minute, I don't think I really like this. Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all okay. That's part of this process of really committing to ourselves and acknowledging how we're feeling about what we're doing. And it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to decide, maybe I should go in a different direction. It's okay to tell the people who are in the same place that you always used to go that you don't really want to go there anymore. It's all okay, because as we're learning ourselves, we're growing and we're evolving. And sometimes we outgrow things. And it's all part of this process. And as we commit to ourselves and commit to this journey, then we begin to, I guess, obtain more courage in saying, you know what, I got to be true to me. This is no longer for me. And that's
Mm-hmm.
all okay, because sometimes we start feeling like, okay, maybe I don't want to do the same old thing, but we don't know how to articulate it, or we're scared of what other people will think. And I mean, that's all part of the process. Whenever you're doing something new, it's a little awkward, a little scary. You start thinking, oh, maybe they're not going to like me. And then you realize this is a commitment to yourself. I got to be true to me first and foremost, because if I'm not okay, then nothing else that I'm doing is going to be okay. And that's really, really important. And it's important for us to accept it, accept that you're learning, you're growing, and constantly changing. And change is good.
Yes, yes. And that's one thing. Like, we know that change is inevitable with life. Like, change is constant. And with that, knowing that it's inevitable, when you have that acceptance of, knowing that change is inevitable, you accept it and you embrace that things can change. So like you said, you can change your mind. You could be doing one thing this day, and the next day you change your mind. You could be doing something for years, like had a certain career for years, and then one day you just decide, you know what, why am I doing this? Like my heart is just not in it. Now you had that knowing all along that it wasn't true to you, but because you were so consistent and you just did it over and over, and it was just so repetitive, you didn't even stop yourself from and say in the midst of it, like, this isn't serving me. But like you said, life changes. It's inevitable. So once that change comes, you got to learn how to embrace it. And that's what I was saying, like, be flexible to change, because you may have to adjust to some things, because you could have been in this career for about 7 years, and now you decide, you know what, I don't want to do this no more, I want to pursue this. Now that's a change. Of course it's scary, you don't know where to go, you're like you're in the middle of the unknown. But when you just have that courage to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this thing anyway, because sometimes it's hard for us to make that transition from what's old because we're so used to it. And like you said, we're thinking about, what other people may think, what they may say. But it's like, is that going to serve you? How someone else feels, what they think, that's none of your concern. That has nothing to do with you, especially when it pertains to your journey, because they
Right.
can't walk the journey for you. You should know you better than anybody. So you know how you want to go about your path and what looks good for you. It ain't gotta make sense to nobody else. What makes sense to you? What do you know to be
Absolutely.
true about yourself? Because you're on this journey essentially for you. So no one knows the in and out. No one knows the work that you do within yourself. No one knows what comes with that. And no one certainly can't carry all that's meant to be carried for your journey. So just having that, embracing that growth and that change, it helps you to evolve into, a better you.
Absolutely. That's for sure. And I mean, ultimately, like, we have this, I guess, this fear or this apprehension of the unknown, but everything is unknown. Like, I don't know what's going to happen the next minute. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how much I plan. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, tomorrow, tonight. Whenever, I don't know how this podcast is going to turn out when we come on live. It's really about accepting that we live in the unknown. The unknown is not just this thing that comes up when you're doing something you never tried before. We live in
Mm-hmm.
the unknown. Embrace that with a sense of like mastery, knowing, oh, I always embrace the unknown. The unknown, I'm a pro at that because I've been facing it since the day I was born. So if we look at it from this different perspective, it allows us this sense of like excitement, a little bit of anticipation, like, oh, what's about to happen next? I don't know. Let me try
Yeah.
this new thing. How did that make me feel? Oh, it made me feel weird. Maybe I shouldn't do that again. Or oh, I tried it and I loved it. And the
Mm-hmm.
same goes for us perceiving what other people are going to think. We don't know what they're going to think. Oftentimes if you watch them, they don't make sense to us. So why would we think we have to make sense to them? You know what I mean? Everybody's just this one of a kind original, just kind of doing whatever makes sense to themselves. And it's for each
Mm-hmm.
of us to find our way. We don't have an obligation to fitting into somebody else's box. And really
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging that when we're trying to build something or really just um journeying on this path to self discovery, to personal growth, it's uncharted waters that people, if they're not on the journey specifically, they really don't have anything to share with you with how to navigate it because they don't know what that journey looks like. You know what I mean? And so that's part of what we're sharing here because we're on this journey, we're living it out. And that's the only reason we're able to speak on it because we see, oh, wait, on my journey, I experienced this. This is something important we think people should know about. So we're sharing it. But ultimately, it's like if people don't have what you want, then you really should just take their advice with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no disrespect to them. But it's like if they didn't make it to where you're trying to go, then how can they tell you how to get there? If they knew, they would be there. So, we got to really just relinquish that concern for what other people are going to think because they won't
Mm-hmm.
understand because it's not for them. And that's okay.
Yeah. But like you said, it's your journey. So going within and figuring out for yourself. And I always say, you gotta be your own everything. You gotta be your own cheerleader, your own supporter, your own coach, whatever it is that you're trying to, achieve in your journey. You have to be the foundation for that because sometimes when it comes to like the consistency and stuff, like I said, we committed to everything and everyone outside ourselves, but when it comes to us, we're lacking over here. But for me, once I got committed to myself, and to be committed to yourself, that means that you're your number one supporter. You're not waiting on anybody else to make you feel fulfilled or feel like you should keep going. That's the self thing that keeps self. That's the only thing that's gonna keep you committed. Like that love for self and just being committed to yourself and your own journey. Because when you fall in love with it, you're happy for the twists and the turns and stuff because you get to see like, ooh, a challenge and you're up for whatever's to come. But even with that, like once you do that for yourself, you will get people who come into, you know, they'll come connected with you, just like me and you. We're kind of on similar paths. And so
Yes.
just to see you do your work outside of, you know, the podcast and your coaching separate from the collabs that we have going on, I watch that, and then that's like an inspiration to me for me to keep going and stay committed to myself, because I'm seeing you doing your thing. I'm like, okay, LJ over there doing her thing, and I'm constantly feeding myself that instead of, you know, focusing on like the mundane things, like, you know, what's going on with the celebrities and all the mundane things that go on in everyday life. Instead of focusing on that, I choose to tune into things that align with my purpose. So I may watch your content, or I may watch someone else's content. I gravitate towards the people who are on similar journeys as mine, or people that are killing it in whatever they're doing, because that is my inspiration for me to stay committed to myself and say, okay, they over there doing their thing. You need to go do your thing.
Right. Right.
And it helps.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's very true, because I know, like, one of the main reasons that I even reached out to you was because your progress was evident. And I loved that. It's like I could see it. I feel like I was following you for quite some time, and I could see the progress. I could see the growth. And I'm like, that's my girl. I like that. I want to talk to her. Because that's what this is all about. We often think, oh, you got to start in a high place and everything works out perfect and it's great. And it's like, no, it's about that consistency. I saw you started and I saw you kept going. And then after that, you kept going. And it's like, yeah, me too. Just keep going. Don't stop until you get there. And that's really the degree of commitment that's required. But it's like, it's not an easy path, but it doesn't have to be a hard one either. It's really about this daily practice. You get up each day and you just recommit to it. Yes, I'm going towards this. Today I'm going, tomorrow I'm going to keep going. And as we continue forward, inevitably we are making progress. And a lot of times we don't necessarily acknowledge the progress, because sometimes it seems like it's slow, but sometimes it's fast. And then
Mm-hmm.
every now and again, we get these real big confirmations that let us know, wow, look how far I've come. Look at all that I'm accomplishing. It is working. Wow. And we begin to align with the people that are on these similar paths. And it really just helps to reinforce it for us. But it's important, like you were saying, to tune out all that mundane stuff. Excuse me. Because that stuff ain't nothing but a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
It has your
Yeah.
mind all over the place, and then you're out of focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh, excuse me, I'm just choking a little bit here.
Are you good over there?
Yes, I'm okay. I got a little tickle in my throat there for a second. So what's going on?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Take care of
But
that.
yeah, it's like all these distractions all around that keep us from focusing on ourselves. And ultimately, this life is this process of us discovering ourselves, of us being our true, authentic self. But society would have us think that it's about trying to be like everybody else, when
Mm-hmm.
that's nothing but deception and part of the illusion and part of the grand marketing scheme to keep us buying all this crap. you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's like we really have to accept this life is about you. You are the
Mm-hmm.
focal point. You need to focus on you, how you feel, what you want, because that's where your purpose lies. And we all have a
Mm-hmm.
purpose, and we're here to fulfill that purpose.
Yep. And like we say, like that journey within, anytime you feel yourself or catch yourself off focus, just remember the journey. And that'll help you to bring yourself back into alignment. Because when you get in those modes and those moments where you're focused on what the world is saying and your family, friends, or whoever, then that's a clear sign that you out of alignment. And you don't have to beat yourself up for it, but just catch yourself when you're having those moments, and then bring yourself back into focus. Know that, okay, this is my journey. I'm over here thinking about how they feel, how they may feel, or what they're thinking. Now all my time, my energy is going here, and it's being wasted, and I'm draining myself when I could have just focused on how I felt. on what I
Right.
thought about my journey, and then celebrating my milestones and how far I've come. Because sometimes we get upset or we don't feel like, being staying committed and being consistent, especially if we're doing the thing and we're not seeing results or what we feel like should be happening. But instead, we forget about that journey, that excitement of doing it, because when you're paying attention on the outcome and the end result, then you miss everything that you were supposed to be getting from the journey. You're supposed to be enjoying the doing of the things that that's going to get you to where you want to go, because it doesn't stop. You just going to accomplish this thing, that thing, and the list goes on as long as you're here on this earth. But celebrating those small milestones, that's gonna be a key player in your journey. Because once you start celebrating those small ones, that gives you that excitement, and then you congratulate yourself. You're happy with yourself and the progress that you're making, and that sets up that momentum for you to want to go do something else. Okay, I did that. Let's
Absolutely.
go again. And those small steps, what do? They turn into big steps. And then another key point is the gratitude of the journey. Like, you have to be in a state of gratitude, and especially when you're not getting the results and the outside is not looking how you want to. When you in the moment and you just enjoying how things are, you don't care what's going on your outside. You ain't even thinking about no results. You're not thinking about who's not showing up, but and you're not thinking about those things because you turned inward and you found your fulfillment inward. You your own cheerleader, you your biggest supporter. So what does it matter who isn't supporting you?
Right.
You're gonna be
Right.
with you for the rest of your life. So how you feel about yourself and how you choose to go on with your life, that's the only thing that should matter. And when you focus yourself on how you feel, then all the other stuff, the mundane things in life, you ain't even gonna be thinking about that. You will see that stuff, it'll happen, but you'll remember, okay, is it helping my journey? Is it aligning with my purpose? If it's not, then okay, well, I ain't giving my time or my energy to that. I'm bringing it back here. And that's like a practice that you could do to help you to, keep you focused, because we get off focus sometimes, because I know I do.
Hmm.
We get distracted. Distractions are always, popping up. I get distracted for a little while, but then I say, okay, let me get back focused. And I give myself that grace. I don't care if I've been on wasted like an hour or so. I'm not gonna beat myself up about it. I'm just gonna acknowledge that, okay, I was off focus for a second. It's a new moment right now. I'm gonna focus right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, that's really a key factor because life only moves forward. So whatever has already happened, it's over with. Like if you don't move on from it, then you're wasting right now.
Hmm.
So it's like we always have to be able to give ourselves that grace because it's over. Let it go. Oh, I didn't meet
Hmm.
my expectation. I didn't use the time how I thought I should have. If we give that pass too much time, then we're not steering this moment in the direction we want it to go, and we're always in control of the present moment. So it's like as soon as we acknowledge, oh wait, I was out of alignment, we just bring it back. And it's important for us to know, like attracts like. This life is all about us being on the frequency of that which we desire. So it's like
Hmm.
you feel unhappy and you want to feel happier, more joyful, then you have to get on that frequency. And sometimes that's hard when, your circumstances may not be exactly what you want them to be. But there
Hmm.
are always things that we can be grateful for. There are always things we can be happy about. Think about an old memory. Sit and process that for a little while. Just let it marinate in your mind. And as you
Hmm.
do that, it begins to put you on that frequency and you align with that frequency of joy, of gratitude. And this is how we begin to attract more of it into our lives. So, really
Hmm.
knowing that we get to take ownership of our mind as we, in the present moment, assess how we feel, staying
Hmm.
true to ourselves. Wait a second, I feel like I was out of alignment. Let me stop for a moment and get back, because
Yeah.
we are empowered to take control of our lives, to steer it in the direction we want it to go. But we do have to be consistent because, as you mentioned, momentum, it's like we have to create momentum in the direction that we want to go. But
Mhm.
ultimately, as we're consistent in creating that momentum and continuing to take steps in that direction, the momentum begins to take on a life of its own. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
After a while, the momentum starts pulling you. It's almost like if I'm doing something consistently every day for 3 years, at a point, I'm gonna get up and it's gonna feel real weird if I don't do it. You know what I mean? Because I've created enough momentum. So now it's just taking me. Now it's become a habit. Now it's become
Mhm.
part of who I am. And that's the goal of where we want to go get to, but with positive things, with things that are leading us in the right direction. You know, we don't want to continue with these old patterns or these old habits that feel like they're involuntary and part of our lives. Because I mean, I know for me, like I used to smoke cigarettes. So it's like you wake
Mhm.
up in the morning, I want a cigarette. Oh, this person got me stressed out. Now my reflex is I need a cigarette. Oh, wait, it's lunchtime. I need a cigarette. And it's like that was a habit and it was involuntary. I didn't have to think about it. It just carried me
Mhm.
along because there was so much momentum. And then as
Mhm.
I stopped smoking cigarettes, at those times when I would have, the momentum was still there. I had to fight against it. And now
Mhm.
I don't live like that anymore. You know what I mean? I get stressed out or whatever happens. I'm not looking for a cigarette because that's not my momentum. I'm not on that road. You know, so it's
Yeah.
like really acknowledging that it's about us putting in this effort and this consistency as we commit to things and we create this momentum, but it will get to a place where the momentum begins to carry us because it becomes part of our identity. You know, so it's
Yeah.
like it's not always this hard part where it's like you're struggling to get to a place. It does get to this place of ease, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. You still got to commit, but
Yep.
you can move forward with ease, with grace, and with really just being kind to yourself and enjoying this whole process.
Yeah. And I like how you share about, you used to smoke cigarettes and stuff because sometimes we turn to vices and stuff and, there's an interruption. We have that resistance when it comes to, staying committed to stuff. Like you said, oh, this person stressed me out. Let me go, smoke a cigarette or whatever vice that you have. And we're using that as an outlet to, I guess like make things easier for us, but it's really not helping us. We're using that instead of going internally and dealing with why we feel like someone else is stressing us out. Why are we putting all that energy on someone else and blaming them instead of going within and asking ourselves, well, why did that irritate me? Why is this person stressing me out? Could it be that it's not them, it's more so me? And so that's
Mhm.
when you do that introspection. So that's big of you to, let it go. And then you just deal with it internally and say, you know what, I don't need this to help me deal with, what's going on in my outer world. Because essentially, like I said, you're gonna be with you. So it's no vice or anything that's gonna really help you to stop that because you, after all is said and done, all the stuff going on outside of you, you still remain. Those
Right.
thoughts, those habits that you continuing with yourself, they remain. So that means you still gonna have to deal with them. And we have our vices and stuff, but that's like in the sense of us running from our truth, our inner selves, that inner work that we have to do. Because once you deal with that and stop looking at it like it's something that's so bad, like when you have these thoughts and these habits, you don't look at yourself and just talk down on yourself for the habits that you have. You recognize it and you become aware of it. And then you ask yourself and you get down to the reasons why you do the things you do. Why do you have this vice? And then once you go and do that introspection and you ask yourself those questions, you realize who you're not and you realize like I want to operate in my essence. And so now it helps you when you're on this path of being committed to your journey because now you don't need anything outside of you to help you to, stay the course and do the thing. You rely on yourself solely. You rely on what's within you and you just work through that and then have fun with it.
Right. That fun piece is critical. And I mean also the celebration piece. You mentioned about celebrating accomplishments. So this is our third episode of the Discovery Within podcast. So yes, let's celebrate that for a moment because that is a huge accomplishment. We set out to start this and here we are, our third episode in. So that's wonderful. I wanted to make sure we take a second to really acknowledge that and show that we are, living this thing out
Yes.
too. We're taking the steps, being committed to ourselves, to our own process, our own journey, and really sharing what that looks like and the skills that we're learning through it. So go
Mhm.
us.
Yes. And I love it. With the consistency and stuff, I think about a child. And that's why I always say have fun with, like, 'cause when you look at a child and anything that they try to do, whether it's like they try to climb something they know they shouldn't be climbing, or they try to get up when they're taking their first steps, when they're walking, they may fall, they may hurt themselves. But guess what? They're gonna be right back up trying to do the very same thing. You just see that childlike, that determination that they have. And it's like when you look at kids, like they are the model for how we should operate for ourselves, because they're not thinking about, oh, my mama gonna be mad at me if I do this. They're not even focused on the outcome. They're not even weighing like all the options. Like, okay, if I get up here, am I going? They're not thinking about that. All they see is where they're trying to go. They know what their intent is. They know what their purpose is. That's all they need to know, and they're gonna go forward. So I think just looking at children, that is a great model. I love looking at children and how they just have that determination to be consistent. Like they're committed to whatever it is that they have going on. And like I look at my son, even if it's something that he's focused on in that moment and that excites him, the outside world doesn't exist. Because I could be looking at him like, what are you doing looking at this or doing that? And he's not thinking about me. He's
Right.
like, the outside world, my opinion of what he may be doing, he's oblivious to that. And if a lot of us got back to how we were as children, that would make things flow so much easier, because things happen for kids too. When they fall or whatever, when they do something that they probably shouldn't have been doing, they get over it. They know that
Right.
it's a moment and it's just passing, and then they keep on going and they create more moments for themselves, and whatever come back up in their mind and they want to do it again, they gonna do it again. They have that determination, they have that commitment to do what it is that they want. So that I think a
Absolutely.
child is a great model for commitment and consistency.
Absolutely. I fully agree. I mean, scripture says that we're to be like children, and it's like it's important for us to watch children because we forget what it was like to be a child,
Yes.
and it's for us to really look and re examine what those aspects are, what those attributes are. And like you were saying, that like will to live. They're ready to go. Like I'm trying to get over there, get out my way. I ain't nobody gonna stop me. I'm gonna go kicking and screaming if I got to. And not to say that we should be throwing tantrums, but really that I guess commitment to completing what they're setting out to, and also that imagination, because kids pretend to be all sorts of things and they're having
Yes.
fun while they're doing it, and nobody can tell them that you're not that. And why
Mm-hmm.
aren't they that in that moment, and it's for us to realize that that's how we actually accomplish our goals, continuing to believe beyond what we could see, using our imagination, and really establishing within ourselves that will to live, where it's like nothing's going to stop me. And on my
Mm-hmm.
journey, that was really one of the foundational pieces for me. I developed, well, God helped me develop this system where I use all these post-it notes. It's called the post-it note method to renewing the mind. And I put these post-it notes up on my wall that began to retrain my mind and retrain my thinking. And one of the initial ones was, it said, what's going to stop me? Nothing. And I got up every day and repeated that to myself. What's going to stop me? Nothing. What's going to stop me? Nothing. And through this process, I was training myself to understand that nothing can stop me from getting up each day and just continuing forward on my journey. And so now I know nothing can stop me. Every day when I wake up, it's all on me, what I'm about to do. And I can
Yes.
continue forward, continuing forward. But it's like we have to accept that we do have that degree of control, because sometimes life feels so out of control. I mean, I know for so
Mm-hmm.
long I felt like I was being dragged around by life. I was just reacting to whatever happened, a crisis, or I got to react to this, I got to react, never steering it in the direction that I wanted it to go. And once I decided this was no longer okay, I'm not going to live like this because it's going to kill me. And I really had to just take ownership of my mind, my focus, and my intention. And that's really what this is all about, your focus, because we can't
Mhm,
focus on more than one thing at a time. You know,
mhm,
life requires that we multitask, but multitasking is detrimental to focus. So it's
mhm.
like we have to understand that, granted, yes, I do have to multitask at times.
Yes,
However, multitasking is not going to allow me to create the intensity of focus to achieve my dreams. So I
yes.
have to allot time for focus. There has to be time allotted to focus. And, everything around us is a distraction.
Mhm,
Watching too much TV is a distraction. Going on social media too long, it's a distraction. And granted, all these things have their place. However, if we don't acknowledge that they're distracting you from your focus and put them in their little boxes, you know what I mean? You want to watch TV, a lot time for that. But make sure it's not interfering with the time for focus. And so
mhm,
it's like we have to commit to these things for ourselves, or we're never going to accomplish what we want to accomplish because we're too scattered. We're looking all over the place. You know what I mean? And
mhm,
so without focus, you won't create enough momentum in the direction that you want to go. And it's like these are big things, but you mentioned earlier it's the small things that create the big things. So it's like
mhm.
if we're not willing to commit to the small things, then we won't never reach the big things.
Right, right. And like just when you were saying that you have the post-it notes and stuff, basically you have these mantras that you say for yourself. That ties into what are your routines? What practices do you have for yourself, on your journey and stuff. So I think that's a good one that you have that mantra for yourself. What's gonna stop me? Nothing. So that makes it easier for the person who's going on their individual journey to have their own type of practices that they do for themselves to keep them focused and stuff. Me, I have a mantra that I say for myself when I wake up in the morning and when I go to sleep. And that's something that I stick to because it helps me to remember and bring me back to where my focus is and my purpose. And just having that routine, whether it's in the morning, whether you wake up, you say your mantra, you ain't getting on no social media, you ain't even turning on the TV, no device, you just spending that time with yourself to connect with yourself and get your mind right for the day. And then something like meditation. I'm always big on doing some type of mindful practice because if your mind ain't right, then
Right.
nothing else outside of that is gonna flow right. So getting your mind right every day and even throughout the day. Because like you said, you have to allow yourself that time and that space. Because when life gets going, you in the midst of doing all this stuff, you committed, you doing the work, and then you may hit a bump where you feel like you frustrated and like, I just want to stop. That's a moment for you to just push pause.
Right.
Allow yourself to pause in that moment, like, oh no, I gotta get it done. You ain't gonna get it done like this, not with this attitude. So allow yourself that time to just put it on pause and figure out what practice works better for you. For me, when I had them moments, oh, it's straight to meditation. It's no devices, no nothing. I'm about to go find a quiet area for myself. I'm gonna sit there and I'm just gonna let everything go. I'm gonna drop everything that I was just doing, every thought, every worry, everything gets dropped because I want to be able to, do what I need to do in a proper manner. I want to be energetic about what I do on like when I'm doing my tasks and stuff. For me to be committed, that means I got to feel good. I have to be in alignment. If my mind ain't right, we can go ahead and cancel that. My first commitment is always going to be to my mental health.
Right.
So when you have that commitment towards yourself, then that brings about that ease for when things do come along and you may have to pivot or whatever. So having those practices and stuff, and then like for me, when I have those moments where I'm experiencing doubt or fear, that's the time for me to just sit there and reflect. So I like to journal about the things that may be burdening me or the type of doubts or fears that are coming up for me. I sit there, I reflect, and I write them out, and I'm transparent with myself. I'm honest. I'm vulnerable with myself. I allow myself to have these doubts and these fears because I want to assess them. And then once I journal them, I know what I want to accomplish. I don't want to be in this place of fear and doubt. So I'm gonna figure out what's the source of me feeling these things, and then I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna figure out what it is, and we're gonna get through it, and everything's gonna flow how it should. But you have to allow yourself that time and be honest with yourself when you're in those moments. So have those practices that help you to get back into alignment with your purpose, so that you can,
Absolutely.
stay the course.
Absolutely. I mean, that's very, very critical. And also, too, you mentioned about like sometimes we feel like we got to do this, I got to get this done. I don't have time to take a moment or give myself a moment. And it's like, it's really important for us to understand that you don't got to do nothing. You could go lay down and never get back up again. Like, you know what I mean? So, and not to say that we should do that, but you
Yeah.
could actually do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that shows us that everything is choices. You're
Hmm.
choosing to do things. You're saying you got to do this. That's why you feel like you got to do it. And
Hmm.
granted, we all have responsibilities, and people who depend on us. So these are things that we believe need to be done, but ultimately they're choices. We're choosing to be a responsible person, because you could choose to be an irresponsible person and say the hell with everything. Some people are out here doing that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That is an actual option. And so as we accept that these are choices, it allows us to be more energized when we approach them, because saying I gotta do something means that you're doing having to do it by force. You're under duress,
Yep.
and that doesn't feel good. It's not energizing. So it's like for us to really acknowledge, I am choosing to be a responsible person. I'm choosing to take care of my responsibilities, and part of me doing that is giving myself 5 minutes right now so I can make sure that I'm up for the task.
Yeah.
And it's like we do have that amount of control, but it comes from this commitment of us really pursuing what we want out of life, that we begin
Mhm.
to start seeing things a little bit differently. Otherwise we do feel like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do that. And it's like,
Mhm.
I used to approach life from this dreadful place. It was like getting up out of bed in the morning was dreadful, because it's like this full day of tasks that I have to complete, just going, going, going. And another thing that I God helped me renew my mind around was that no dread here. Like I don't dread anything. And so that doesn't mean that dread immediately vanished. But once I decided I'm not going to live in dread or engage with the feeling of dread, it helped me to become aware of it. So when I would start feeling that dread, it was like, wait a second, hold up. I'm feeling that feeling. Let me revamp how I'm approaching this. You know what I mean? So maybe it's like, oh, I gotta wash the dishes. I'm dreading it. And then I could change how I'm looking at it. I'm like, wow,
Yep.
what a blessing that I have a house to live in with a sink that has dishes. And if there's dishes
Mhm.
in the sink, must mean we got food too. Praise the Lord. You know what I mean? And so that may sound like, oh, what a stretch, but it's like you got to be willing and committed to walk yourself away from those negative feelings, walk yourself away from these things that are draining you and ultimately depleting your life force, because
Mhm.
that's what it's doing. It's like it's sucking the life out of us little by little by little. And then we get to this place and we just don't feel well. Nothing seems good
Right.
anymore. And we don't know how we got there, but we're getting there incrementally, day by day, by taking these small steps, not in a healthy direction.
Yeah. And that is real powerful. So as we're closing up, I just want to leave the audience with this. Stay true to yourself and your path and your purpose. And knowing that when you're committed to yourself and what's within you, that's going to create a ripple effect to everything that goes on outside of you. But knowing that you are the foundation, and to always just stay committed to yourself within above anything else. Anything you wanted to add before we close it
Definitely.
out?
I mean, I just want to share that, this whole commitment and consistency, it is a process, but commit to something very small. Pick something very
Mhm.
small that you can accomplish each day. Maybe it's make sure you drink 3 glasses of water, whatever the case, whatever suits your life. And as you commit to this to yourself and you actually follow through with it, it will begin to establish more confidence in your
Mhm.
own commitment to yourself, and it will snowball into other areas of your life. So it's like start small but really commit, and you will be amazed by what it grows into. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, and always remember, whether you're just beginning your journey or you've been on your journey for years, know that there's always room for growth and self-discovery. So stay in the game, y'all, and we're gonna define that magic within. And for anybody that's tuning in, make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel on the Discovery Within podcast, or join the Facebook group that you can come in and join the conversations with us. We definitely love to have you. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you tell all your friends about us as well. And we will be back in 2 weeks.
all right. Y'all have a good one.
Peace.